On all my videos, I give away an Amazon gift card. To find out how to win, please like, comment, and subscribe. And at the end of the video, I will tell how to win. The series begins with Haruto, a young boy, lost in the sea of his own memories. He's on the verge of bidding a tearful farewell to his dear friend, Miyaru. Haruto boards a bus, and as he reminisces about his past, his life takes a tragic turn. Chaos erupts when a train collides with the bus, and Haruto's life, along with those of other passengers, is tragically cut short. Haruto wakes up in an unfamiliar, gloomy place, bewildered and trapped in the body of a malnourished boy. His memories are a jumbled mess, leaving him questioning his identity. A group of men enter the room and coldly address him as Ryo. They indulge in a feast without offering him any food, even complaining about his smell. Cast aside to take a bath, Ryo's hunger drives him to forage for berries in the nearby bushes. As he scavenges, Haruto's past begins to resurface, revealing his identity as a 20-year-old student from Japan. But Ryo must come to terms with the harsh reality of being a destitute boy living in the slums of the kingdom of Beltran. Driven by a burning desire to avenge his mother's murder, Ryo resolves to leave behind his past life and focus solely on his mission. Just when he's trying to adapt to this new world, 4 individuals in white robes enter, inquiring about a girl with purple hair. Despite the initial intimidation, a white-haired girl named Celia introduces herself with grace. Ryo denies any knowledge of the girl, but Celia detects his significant magical power through a spell. Although they don't find the girl, Celia rewards Ryo with a bag of coins before they depart. Returning to the house, Ryo is ambushed by a masked assailant, leading to a confrontation. But time suddenly freezes, and an ethereal projection of a pink-haired girl appears, guiding Ryo on how to harness his newfound magical abilities. With his newly awakened powers, Ryo defeats the masked attacker. While searching the room, Ryo stumbles upon the purple-haired girl he had been asked about. She pleads with him to take her to the royal castle, but faints upon seeing the unconscious masked man. Determined to fulfill her request, Ryo embarks on this journey, but their progress is abruptly halted by the individuals in white robes, who mistakenly assume that Ryo is involved in the kidnapping. They escort him to the castle for questioning. Meanwhile, the royal guards investigate the site where Ryo was attacked, and the masked man regains consciousness. Before he can be interrogated, a mysterious hooded figure watches from a distance and shatters a red crystal, causing the suspect to meet an untimely demise. In the castle's dungeon, Charles, the vice captain of the knights, subjects Ryo to severe torture to force him to confess to the princess's abduction. Ryo, however, maintains his innocence. Princess Flora, the purple-haired girl, regains consciousness in her room, where she learns about the recent events from Celia and Vanessa, a pink-haired woman. She urgently requests to see Ryo and accompanies Celia to the dungeon. The sight of Ryo's injuries shocks Celia and Vanessa, and Princess Flora intervenes, asserting Ryo's innocence. She uses her unique magical abilities to secure his release, and Celia proceeds to heal Ryo's wounds. He falls unconscious, only to awaken later in a palace chamber. Celia apologizes for the royal guard's actions and informs him that the king wishes to express his gratitude. In the grand royal throne room, Ryo stands before the king, queen, and their 2 daughters, Princess Flora and Christina. The king, recognizing Ryo's heroic act in saving Princess Flora, decides to show his appreciation by offering Ryo admission to the Beltran Royal Academy. Ryo graciously accepts the offer and embarks on his education within the academy. However, his initial days at the academy are far from smooth, as the nobles in his class ridicule him for his commoner background, leaving Ryo feeling like an outsider. After school hours, Ryo seeks the guidance of Celia in her research lab. He humbly asks for her help in learning how to read and write, and Celia, a child prodigy, agrees to tutor him. During their sessions, she's surprised to notice Ryo excelling in assignments, matching only Princess Christina's brilliance. Impressed by his dedication, Celia provides him with children's novels to further enhance his learning. The academy curriculum includes combat lessons and sword fighting, and Ryo excels in these classes, thanks to his martial arts knowledge from his previous life as Haruto. His skills earn him the admiration of the instructors, and he even receives an offer to join the Royal Knights, which he politely declines. As time passes, Ryo begins to recall more memories from his past life as Haruto, including moments with his childhood friend, Aru. He struggles to reconcile these memories with his desire to forge a new life. Fast forward 5 years, and Rio is chosen to represent the Beltran Royal Academy in a tournament against the Royal Guards. A fellow student named Alphonse protests the idea of Rio, a commoner, representing the academy in the upcoming tournament. The challenges continue, but Rio remains determined, not only to prove himself, but also to assist Celia in the library. He can't resist teasing her about her apparent lack of growth since they first met. Over a tea session, Rio shares his desire to travel to his parents' homeland in the Yaguma region after graduation. His motivation arises from the continuous mistreatment he endures from other students due to his commoner background. The exhibition tournament between the Beltran Royal Academy and the Royal Guards commences, with Rio facing off against Charles, the vice captain of the guards who had once tortured him. Charles tries to intimidate Rio, but Rio is resolute in his quest for revenge. Their duel is intense, both displaying impressive skills with wooden swords. In the end, Rio prevails, and Charles reluctantly admits defeat. Later that evening, Charles confides in an ominous blue-haired man, the ambassador from the Praxia Empire, about Rio's involvement in the incident from 5 years ago. This ambassador is the same hooded figure who had killed the masked assailant by shattering a red crystal. In a subsequent class, Celia educates the students about magic. Rio faces mockery from his royal peers for his inability to perform a specific spell. It becomes apparent that Rio possesses a unique form of magic different from the others, a secret he keeps hidden to avoid unnecessary attention. After class, Rio faces false accusations from a royal student named Stuart, who accuses him of seducing female students. Celia comes to his defense, but Stuart's House of Huguenot lineage forces him to back down, albeit with a warning not to provoke him further. The students embark on a practical lesson in the mountain forests, led by Alphonse. Rio is given the task of carrying the group's bags, a duty assigned to him primarily because of Alphonse's disdain for him. Despite the unfair treatment, Rio accepts the task. During their journey, they encounter a horde of goblins. The boys employ their enhanced magical abilities to successfully fend them off. Their journey continues, unaware that the ambassador from Praxia has taken a keen interest in Rio and is monitoring his unique spirit magic. Finally, the students reach the edge of a cliff, marking the next stage of their journey. A sudden ambush by towering orcs armed with spears puts Rio's group in a perilous situation. Stuart is injured and inadvertently pushes Princess Flora off the cliff. Rio, alert to the danger, dives to her rescue, catching her midair and placing her back on the ledge before falling himself. Back on the cliff, Alphonse, the group's leader, guides the others in defeating the orcs. Accusations arise, with Stuart falsely claiming that Rio pushed him and Flora. To Rio's relief, Princess Flora defends him, though some students side with Stuart. The group faces another threat, a colossal minotaur. This forces most of the students to flee, but Flora stays behind to aid the injured. The minotaur attempts to attack her, and Rio returns to sever the beast's arm. He encourages Flora to escape with the others before resuming the battle. Ultimately, he vanquishes the Minotaur but slips away before the other students can see him, still believing he pushed Flora off the cliff. Days pass after the forest incident, and Rio is conspicuously absent, presumed missing at the school. Celia overhears Duke Huguenot, Stuart's father, plotting to publicly accuse Rio of pushing Princess Flora off the cliff, even though he knows it was Stuart's doing. In secret, Rio visits Celia in her lab, assuring her of his safety. She shares the Duke's plot, which fuels his anger, though Rio remains unfazed. To avoid further trouble, he decides to embark on a journey to his parents' homeland in the Yaguma region after graduation. Promising to reunite with Celia someday, he departs, leaving her heartbroken as she realizes she has fallen in love with him. Rio's journey leads him to the kingdom of Galark, and while browsing a market town, he inadvertently attracts the attention of a shadowy pursuer. Rio departs the town after obtaining food and condiments, continuing his journey through the forest. In the woods, he encounters an unconscious beast girl who, upon awakening, fires a poison spike at him. Rio's quick reflexes save him from the toxin. Recognizing her as a beast girl with animal features, he identifies her as Latifa. Rio neutralizes the poison and subdues her, noticing a collar of submission around her neck. In a revealing flashback, It's disclosed that Latifa had died in the same train accident as Haruto, getting reincarnated as a beast girl in this fantasy world and falling into the Huguenot family's captivity. She had been held captive in a dungeon, enduring Stuart's cruelty daily. They discover that Latifa was sent to kill Rio, but she assures him that she has no intention of harming him. Instead, she requests to accompany him on their journey, as their paths lead to a place called the Wilderness, where beast people and demi-humans coexist in peace. During their journey, Latifa starts speaking about her parents in Tokyo during a dream, but Rio keeps the revelation that she died in the same train accident as him to himself. In the following nights, Latifa experiences nightmares, but Rio's soothing magic helps her sleep soundly. One night, as they camp, Latifa has a nightmare, and the campfire extinguishes mysteriously. Rio investigates and spots a large wolf that vanishes in a blinding light. He uses his magic to sense the presence of 3 demi-humans lurking around their camp. 2 of them discover Latifa, who is asleep due to Rio's spirit magic, and wrongly conclude that Rio kidnapped her. Yuzuma, one of the demi-humans, launches a powerful magic attack on Rio, causing him to lose consciousness. When he wakes, he finds himself tied to a bed in the demi-human's village. Latifa awakens and rushes to check on him, horrified by the misunderstanding. Realizing their mistake, the demi-human girls release him, and Ursula, one of them, apologizes for the wrongful capture. The next morning, Rio finds himself in the village and meets the village elders, including Dominic the dwarf and Sildora the elf. They apologize for the earlier misunderstanding and express gratitude for Rio's role in saving Latifa from slavery. As a gesture of gratitude, they ask how they can repay him, and Rio requests the opportunity to stay in the village and learn about the spirit arts and the village's traditions, a request they readily accept. During this time, a green-haired girl named Dryas, the spirit of the world tree, makes an appearance, floating in the air. She senses a strong magical energy within Rio and presumes that he has formed a contract with a spirit, even though Rio has no recollection of doing so. Dryas confirms the immense magical power within him and explains that a spirit resides within him. Later, Rio is introduced to the home of Latifa and the other demi-human girls, including Sarah, Orphea, and Alma. They share a meal and discuss their plans to live together. A year passes since Rio's settlement in the forest village, and preparations are underway for the Grand Spirit Festival. Rio and the villagers enjoy a feast and have fun together, celebrating their time together. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Rice, the ambassador from Praxia, arrives at the entrance of a cave with a young man on a griffin. They retrieve a massive wyvern egg, and the young man is given a red pill to track his whereabouts. Back in the forest village, Rio takes Latifa for a stroll in the forest. He reveals that his time in the village is coming to a close, and he plans to continue his journey to his ancestors' land. Latifa expresses her desire to accompany him, but Rio is concerned about the dangers that lie ahead and refuses, not wanting to endanger her. This leaves Latifa deeply upset, and she runs away in tears. At the same time, the village elders sense a large swarm of wyverns approaching their location. In the forest, the demi-humans spot a blonde boy and decide to investigate his activities. However, he becomes intimidated and flees on the griffin. Sarah summons a spirit wolf, and Alma rides it to give chase. As the wyverns pursue the fleeing young man, Sarah and Alma track him and confront him to discover his intentions. Yet, he escapes on the griffin, inadvertently leading the wyverns toward the village. Back in the cave, Riz successfully steals all the remaining wyvern eggs and then crushes a red stone similar to the one the young man ingested. As he does so, the young man dies in midair and his griffin plummets, setting the stage for more mysterious developments. The story takes a thrilling turn as Latifa, still heartbroken, wanders through the forest and encounters the wyvern egg dropped by the young man. To her shock, the egg breaks, and the largest wyvern emerges, enraged and ready to attack. Latifa faces the impending fireball, but Alma arrives just in time to protect her. Alma summons a large lion spirit, and the spirit wolf joins the battle, attacking the wyvern. Despite their powerful efforts, they cannot defeat the wyvern, and Latifa is trapped. Just as the wyvern is about to launch a fatal attack on Latifa, Rio appears, saving her. He flies her to safety and then uses his magic to enhance his physical abilities. With incredible agility and strength, He takes on the wyvern using only his fists and feet. When the wyvern attempts to release a powerful fiery attack, Ryo counters it by creating a massive energy ball, which he shoves into the wyvern's mouth, ultimately defeating it. With the largest wyvern vanquished, the other wyverns retreat, leaving the demi-humans in awe of Ryo's incredible display of power. The following day, Latifa finally comes to terms with Ryo's departure and reveals that she was once a human in Japan who died and reincarnated in this fantasy world. Ryo, who already knew her story, shares that he too was reincarnated into this realm. Before leaving the forest village, Ryo bids farewell to the villagers and the elders. In a parting gift, Dominic gives him a mithril sword to channel his spirit magic and a black suit of armor crafted from wyvern skin. The elves provide potions and medicines, while the beast people offer food and supplies. Sildora gives him a magical storage device to keep all his gifts during his travels. Ryo expresses his gratitude and promises to return to help them if they ever need his assistance. He then says his final heartfelt goodbye to Latifa and sets off on his journey. 2 weeks after arriving in the Yagumo region, Ryo still hasn't found any information about his parents. He eventually arrives in the village of Karasuki and is directed to the chief, an elderly woman named Yuba. During their audience, he inquires about his father, Zen, and his mother, I Am. Yuba recognizes the names and reveals that she is Ryo's grandmother, Zen's mother. She takes him to their graves to prove the truth. Ryo pays his respects at their graves, and Yuba explains that his parents had to leave the village for a reason she cannot yet disclose to him. She asks him to stay with her until she's ready to reveal the secret, and Ryo agrees. Back in Yuba's home, Ryo meets Ruri, who turns out to be his cousin. He settles into the village, assisting with chores, and learns that both Yuba and Ruri can use spirit magic, just like him. The following day, Ryo gets more acquainted with the villagers and helps them with various tasks. In a short time, he becomes very popular and well-liked by the people of Karasuki. One day, Yuba asks for a favor. She requests that Ryo escort the traders traveling to the royal capital to sell rice. He agrees, but their attention is drawn to a heated argument between Shin and a man named Gon. Gon, the son of the leader of a nearby village, insists on staying in Yuba's house while his cart, used for transporting goods to the capital, is being repaired. The argument escalates when Gon declares his intention to marry Ruri, who is Yuba's only heir. This infuriates Shin, leading to a one-sided physical confrontation. Gon overpowers Shin and begins choking him. Yuba intervenes, ending the fight and allowing Gon to stay in a guest house. To keep Ruri safe from Gon, Yuba permits Ryo to stay in her house. Later that night, Ryo gives Ruri a protective amulet and asks her to keep it in her room's corner. Meanwhile, in the guest house, Gon hangs out with his friends, and it becomes apparent that the cart was intentionally damaged as part of a sinister plot. The following day, a man named Hayat, introduced as a tax examiner, arrives on a horse with 2 assistants. Hayat inspects the village's crops and later dines with Yuba. That night, Gon sneaks into Ruri and Tessio's room while they sleep, attempting to carry out his wicked plan. However, Ryo senses his presence thanks to the protective amulet he gave Ruri. Without hesitation, Ryo confronts and beats Gon, stopping him from executing his plan. Unfortunately, Gon's presence reminds Ryo of the man who killed his mother, giving him even more motivation to pummel the intruder mercilessly. Ryo's assault leaves Gon severely injured, nearly killing him. Hayat arrives in time to prevent further harm and uses his magic to heal Gon's injuries. The next day, Ryo reflects on how he had forgotten about his mission to avenge his mother, a reminder that his journey is far from over. Taking the initiative to make amends, Ryo apologizes to everyone for his violent behavior the previous night. Instead of reprimands, he receives thanks for saving the girls from a dangerous situation. As promised, Hayat takes Gon and his accomplices to be transported to the prison camp. Before leaving, Yuba hands a letter to Hayat, requesting him to deliver it to his father, Lord Juki. Meanwhile, Shin, Dola, Seo, and Ryo continue their journey to the royal capital, where they intend to sell their rice. After arriving, they find a place to stay, and Shin, Dola, and Ryo go to a restaurant for drinks. Shin expresses his gratitude to Ryo for saving his sister from Gon. Afterward, Shin and Seo visit the market, where Shin offers to buy Seo something nice as a thank you gesture. SEO selects a hair decoration, and Rio buys it for her. This act of kindness makes SEO realize that she might have developed strong feelings for Rio and questions if she's in love with him. In another part of the story, Hayat delivers the letter from Yuba to Lord Juki, which contains surprising news. Sometime later, Rio meets with Lord Juki, who invites him to his house. Lord Juki and his wife, Kyoko, reveal their past as attendants to Rio's mother, I-am, who was once the daughter of the royal family of Karasuki. They share a story about Zen, Rio's father, who rose through the ranks of the Karasuki army due to his impressive combat skills. Zen's skills impressed Juki, who recommended Zen to become a guard of the Karasuki royal family. This marked the beginning of Zen and I-am's love story. However, during a peace treaty signing with the Rokuran kingdom, the Prince of Rokuran took an interest in I-am and ordered his attendant to kidnap her. Zen intervened, saving I-am but accidentally killing the attendant in the process. As a result, the prince demanded I-am's hand in marriage as a condition for peace. Zen and I-am fled the kingdom, and that marked the start of their life on the run. During this storytelling, Rio shares his mother's tragic death at the hands of Lucius, a red-haired adventurer who once helped them but later attacked them. I-am intervened to save Rio but was killed by Lucius. Rio found himself in the slums, where he endured a harsh life until he crossed paths with Princess Flora. After hearing his story, Lord Juki supports Rio's quest to avenge his mother. He first decides to test Rio's strength by having him spar with Juki, the strongest warrior of Karasuki. The sparring match takes place in the courtyard, and the two engage in an intense duel. At first, they appear evenly matched, but when Juki takes it to the next level, Rio counters his powerful attack with a clever water spell and wins the match by getting his sword to Juki's neck. After his impressive duel with King Homura, Rio impresses the king, who concludes that Rio doesn't require any further training. Rio returns to the small village and decides to spend more time with Yuba, Ruri, and the villagers over the next year. He continues to help with various tasks and forms strong bonds with the villagers. SEO, who has developed feelings for Rio, confesses her love to him. However, Rio tells her that they can't be together and informs her of his impending departure. This leaves SEO heartbroken. Rio eventually prepares to leave the village after 6 months, saying his goodbyes to Yuba, Ruri, and the villagers. As he leaves, SEO waits for him at the village's exit. They bid each other farewell, promising to meet again someday. On his journey, Rio revisits the forest village, reuniting with Latifa and the other demi-humans. He decides to stay there for a few months and proposes building a house that he can carry with him in his space-time storage device, a plan that Dominic offers to help with. One morning, Rio wakes up to find a mysterious naked pink-haired girl named Asia in his bed. She reveals that she is a spirit who made a contract with him but has no memory of how they became separated or her own name. She asks Rio to give her a name, and he chooses Asia. They go to Dryas, the tree spirit, to learn more about her condition. Asia's power in spirit magic amazes everyone as she excels in all elemental attributes. After parting with the forest village, Rio plans to return there easily with a teleportation device given by Ursula and earrings from Sildora to change his appearance. Before continuing his journey, Rio makes a detour to visit Celia in the kingdom of Beltrum. In this exciting turn of events, Rio and Asia, still in disguise, overhear news about a noble's wedding parade, which eventually leads them to the Royal Academy in search of Celia. To their surprise, they find her lab empty, but with some clever hypnotism, they gather information from a teacher. They learn that Celia is being forced into a political marriage with Charles from the Royal Guard, and they also discover that Beltrum has suffered a significant defeat at the hands of the Praxia Empire, causing the royal family's power to weaken. Hearing that Celia is in a forced marriage, Rio becomes determined to see her, believing she's in trouble. In her room, Celia has accepted her fate, but deep down, she's still struggling with her feelings, especially after receiving a letter from Rio 4 years ago. As the wedding day approaches, Celia finds herself reminiscing about that letter, which brings her unresolved emotions to the surface. Rio sneaks into Celia's room, catching her off guard as she hasn't seen him in 4 years. They discuss her marriage to Charles, but Celia is not entirely truthful about her feelings, claiming she's content with the arrangement. However, Rio senses that something is amiss. Before they can delve deeper into their conversation, Celia, fearing scandal, asked Rio to leave her room. Once he's gone, Celia locks herself in her room and cries. On the day of the wedding, Charles introduces Celia to his other 6 wives, who mock her and inform her that she will have the lowest rank among them. Princess Christina offers her support to Celia, feeling responsible for the forced marriage due to the circumstances of Princess Flora's kidnapping. As the wedding parade begins, Rio and Asia, still in disguise, hide among the crowd. Celia reluctantly takes Charles' hand, feeling like a pawn in this political marriage. But their plans take an unexpected turn as Rio, in disguise, dramatically interrupts the parade, making a daring entrance. He uses his magical abilities to clear his path, displaying impressive power. Tension escalates as Charles' elite guard stands in Rio's way, and Celia grows increasingly worried. Charles initially boasts about his guards, but Rio surprises everyone by defeating them effortlessly. In the midst of the chaos, Rio takes Celia, holds a knife to her neck, and communicates with her telepathically, revealing that he knows she's not marrying willingly. He asks her if she wants him to stop the wedding. After some hesitation, Celia admits her true feelings, and Rio decides to kidnap her. He carries Celia away, while the guards and mages launch an attack to apprehend him. Rio faces the guards and creates a diversion, allowing Celia and Asia to escape the royal capital. After the intense street battle, Alfred, the kingdom's strongest knight, emerges with a powerful sword coated in magic. Despite Alfred's strength, Rio manages to hold his own. Alfred casts a spell to empower his sword, unleashing a devastating attack. However, Rio seems to have disappeared when the dust settles, leaving Alfred to order his men to search for him, believing that the battle is not yet over. Meanwhile, outside the capital, Rio meets up with Celia and Asia. They are grateful for his daring rescue. However, a thunderstorm begins brewing and beams of magical light fill the sky, indicating that something extraordinary is happening. Asia senses a disturbance and believes they must assist someone in need. In another part of the world, a boy and 2 girls have gotten themselves lost and kidnapped by bandits, who transport them to a different world. Rio appears and saves them. One of the people he rescues appears to be Naru, though she doesn't recognize him. That's it from this video. Remember, for a chance to win that Amazon gift card, please like, subscribe, and comment down below the word subscribe.